Day 23 of 365 days of meditation. And today's meditation was interesting, to say the least. I got up and exercised this morning and then went down for a nap after exercise. It's Saturday, so I indulged. And when I got up from the nap, I went into meditation. I meditated for, I think, about an hour and 45 minutes, maybe close, yeah, about that, about an hour and 45, hour and a half, something like that. So I dropped into meditation using the trigger that I set prior to embarking on this 365-day journey. And once I found myself in sort of a calm, relaxed state, maybe about a half hour in, maybe sooner, 20 minutes in, I kind of probed and prodded around the idea of fear, trying to see if there was anything else there that might come up today. So, asking questions like, what am I afraid of? Why am I afraid of being alone? Or why am I afraid of isolation? Or, just, the idea, maybe the mantra of I embrace fear, just different things like that. Just see if anything sort of pops up, if anything hits a nerve, if you will. And nothing around fear today. So calm the body back down again, and then I was reminded of yesterday's video where I mentioned that I was noticing a lot of sort of critical, judgmental dialogue going on, this chatter in the background of my day-to-day life that I was becoming increasingly aware of over the last week, and it wasn't feeling good. So I was reminded of that today, and I thought I would explore it. So I started off by offering some, first I thought, well, what's the opposite of sort of this criticism, judgment? And I thought, well, how about encouragement? And so I started offering up some encouraging words to myself. And then I went from there, it morphed into offering up some encouraging words or acknowledging some past successes in my life. So things that I accomplished in the past, maybe something that I thought was difficult, maybe something that I was proud of for doing. And then that sort of morphed into acknowledging things where I had tried really hard but didn't necessarily succeed. So sort of acknowledging those events. And for me, there's a little bit of maybe some judgment or criticism attached to those past experiences. So I went in and sort of acknowledged and encouraged myself and congratulated myself for, being brave, for trying this, for, going out on a limb. Just really offered any words of encouragement I could find for these different events in my life that sort of started popping into mind, one after the other. And from there, we hit a little fork in the road, I guess. The subconscious, the body was not happy about sitting. The subconscious was not happy probably about all this, these words of encouragement that were counter to this narrative going on in the background that's been running on autopilot, obviously. And it started to throw me some curveballs, and I started to get memories popping into my head of things that I was unhappy about, or that I definitely failed at, or I made mistakes at, things I might be embarrassed about for having done, things I regret. And all of these things started flooding into the mind, and I kept offering up words of encouragement and, like, no, as a learning experience, that's really great. That was really difficult. It's awesome that you got through it. Think of everything you learned. Like, just anything that I could come up with that was positive, essentially, and encouraging, acknowledging the difficult, thanking myself for going through that experience. Just kept pushing through. And then a little bit of waterworks began. A few tears started flowing as the scenarios that were being presented to me from my past were increasingly difficult. There was probably some significant judgment around them. It was probably a time when I was criticizing myself for having done something at that time. And then I got the sort of final dagger thrown at me, which was all these events from my life when I was suffering a lot with my mental health when I was in some really low lows, dark night of the soul type places in my life. A lot of suicidal ideation, you know, incredibly depressed, very anxious, in the throes of some of the worst OCD experiences and times with OCD that I've experienced. And all these events just start pouring in. And then from there, it turned into an ugly cry. It was not pretty. Sobbing, wet mucus cry. And I just kept going. Every time another event was thrown at me and my subconscious presented me with another reason why I could have, in the past, I would have definitely judged myself, criticized myself, got upset with myself, a lot of self-loathing when I was in the low lows with my mental health. I would beat myself up for feeling horrible, which is really not helpful. But that was my default. That's definitely what I used to do in the past. And that would only make things worse, but you know, I didn't know any better back then, I guess. So I didn't have a better way of coping. And I continued with the encouragement. I continued with just acknowledging how strong I was to have gone through that, and then thanking myself for not giving up. And then feeling a lot of gratitude, just pushing through, grateful for the fact that I didn't give up, because, you know, to be honest, there was times where it definitely would have been a hell of a lot easier than to just pull the plug, than to keep going. And but yeah, just feeling a tremendous sense of gratitude. I'm feeling it right now even, for continuing on, and for getting a chance to get out the other side and to live this amazing life that I have now. So yeah, I think the emotional exorcism continued for about 45 minutes, and I just kept going and going, and doubled over, sobbing, you name it. And but I just kept thanking myself and being grateful for the experience, and grateful for being strong enough to push through, and acknowledging the difficulty, and acknowledging myself for persevering and not giving up, and just pointing out all the good aspects, all the good in me during very, very trying times. And it was extremely helpful to have all of those experiences pop back into my subconscious that were, you know, I perceived as very terrible at the time, very unfair, very, I don't even know what the word is, but yeah, to be able to sort of reframe them and reconcile those events and see them through a new light was incredibly helpful. I at the end of the meditation, I was feeling so good at the end of that meditation. About an hour and a half, hour or so in, I actually just sort of crawled off the chair, kept my eyes closed, and just lied on the ground for another 15-20 minutes probably, and just sort of basked in the sort of lightness, this airiness that I felt. It was really an amazing feeling. And yeah, I'm sure there's probably some more work to do there. We'll see. You know, I'll explore that one again, and we'll see what comes up. I know in the past I've explored judgment and criticism in meditation, like about a year ago when I was meditating daily. I don't remember exactly how the experience went, but I'm sure it was probably a good one. And now we'll see. We'll see if I've sort of cleansed my brain of some of this negative chatter, and if it maybe subsides a little bit in my day-to-day life. That would be ideal. Maybe some encouragement pops up automatically in my day-to-day life. That would actually be the ideal. So that's what we're aiming for. So yeah, that was the experience today. One of the things I was thinking about later on in the day was, like tears. Like, what are tears? You know, why is it that when we're suffering, or we're going through something painful, emotionally, physically, psychologically, why is it that we cry? Like, why does water fall from our face? It's really, from our eyes. It's a really weird, and then like the mucus and all that. Why? And then the sounds even. Why do we cry? What is crying? That was what I was thinking about later today. Once the analytical brain started firing on all cylinders again. So who knows? Maybe one day Andrew Huberman will do a podcast on crying. That'd be really interesting. The psychology and the neurology and physiology of crying. Anyway, tangent there, but yeah, that was it from today. That was today's experience. I'm glad I had it. It was not an easy one, but very worthwhile, and I feel grateful that I got to have that experience. So, yeah, in closing, if you are struggling with your mental health, if you are, I got a call coming through. I'm going to stop this. If you are struggling with your mental health, if you are feeling anxious or depressed, if you are experiencing suicidal ideation, or you just feel like you're unable to cope with your mental or emotional state, talk to somebody. Friends, families, coaches, teachers, colleagues, mental health professionals, if you have access to one, or if you're able to reach out to one. Help yourself, and in doing so, you'll also be helping end the stigma around mental health, and that might help a lot of people ripple through into the future, and help a lot of people as the stigma around mental health slowly, hopefully, disappears. I know for myself personally, I did definitely had a lot of fear and apprehension and anxiety around talking to somebody about my own experiences with struggles with my mental health, and I'm still reconciling that today. The years upon years upon years of, sometimes what I think of as almost lost time, because I don't get those years back, and there was a lot of unnecessary suffering that occurred, and definitely not living life to its fullest potential. And I know that there's some reframing to do around that I've been working on, to find the silver lining in it, to be grateful for the experiences that have brought me to this moment in time, good and bad. And I think maybe that's a bit of what today's meditation was about. So yeah, that's it. Again, if you're struggling with your mental health, talk to somebody. Be good to yourself, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, encourage yourself, and you'll find that if you do it for yourself, you'll start doing it for other people, and they'll in turn start doing it for you. So it's a win-win. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.